The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
Welcome everybody back to another episode of Cherry Picking here on Up the Cherries in all departments. Now, before we get going, do me a favour, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell button. Also, if you're listening on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple, wherever else, do head over to YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to us. We are growing and growing and growing and growing. And also make sure you follow us on those platforms as well. Now, of course, it wouldn't be cherry picking with one man sat next to me, and that man is Mr. Matthew Harrison. How you doing, Matt?
Yeah, all good, Craig. Yeah, thank you very much for the lovely introduction. And yes, looking forward to talking all things cherries. So let's let the show commence, as they say.
Definitely. There we are. I'm trying to do my best Bruce Forsyth impression. Now, if you did want to get involved or you did want to hire me for, any private functions, I don't know why you would, or if you're an agent and thinking, actually, this guy's pretty good, we'll get him on our TV show. Send an email to UTCIAD@afcb@gmail.com. But I'm pretty sure it'll be more Cherries fans, and you're more than welcome to come on. Come join us. Come join us for a chat. You're always welcome. But I tell you what, let's start where we normally start, and that is Guess the Cherry, isn't it, Matt?
Certainly is. So
take it away.
This week's Guess the Cherry is a bit, well, I say a bit retro. Look at those shirts there. This week's Guess the Cherry, born in Ringwood in 1936. So if you're a cherry of a certain age, that might give you a clue already. Played on the right side of midfield. Joined from Weymouth in 1958. Played 436 times for the Cherries. He is fourth in the leading appearance charts, and he scored 55 times in a Cherries shirt.
Who is he, Matt? Who is he? Well,
who is he indeed?
I tell you what, guys, you'll have to wait to the very end. Enjoy the rest of the show. No peeking, no skipping forwards. Don't do it. I wouldn't. Well, probably would do, but that's just me. But I know you lot are more sensible than me, so don't do it. Watch the rest of the show, enjoy it, but get your clues in that comment section, and I'm sure we'll give a shout out to whoever guesses it right, unless we think that you've cheated. But I tell you what, let's get on with the first part of the show, which is the Foley Stadium update. And of course, Bill Foley has spoken to our friends at Talksport. Remember, we are the Talksport Fan Network, AFC Bournemouth channel of choice. There we are. Let's find out what Bill said. So, Foley told Talksport, we are well underway to having a solution for our stadium with several stages in mind. He said the first stage would be to grow to about 16,000 seats. The next stage would there be around 20,000. And then the third stage would be to around about 24,000 seats. much more hospitality and much more welcoming environment in terms of when people arrive and how they get into the stands and so on. Foley then added, we are hopefully going to be acquiring the vitality. We have a plan in place. It is going to be a staged effort and we need to have the council's approval. We'll start with the south stand and we'll really expand that and make that a permanent stand with some hospitality. At the same time, we're going to be redoing the main stand in terms of hospitality and ingress and egress, high-speed elevators and so on. So people aren't having to walk up 3 flights to go to have lunch and then walk down 2 flights to go to their seats and walk up 2 flights again. The stadium is just antiquated and we need to improve it. We've been working hard on it. Our general contractor was over in Las Vegas last Monday and we spent 4 or 5 hours together going through the options and looking at the stages and how we move forwards. Now we're working with the council to see if we can get a fairly quick approval for what we want to do. We've already raised the money, so the sooner we get approvals and we get our design plan in place, we've already retained our architects and retained our builder and so on. We'll be ready to go. People will be surprised with how quickly we go with this situation. So, it's interesting, very, very interesting. Matt, I'll let you go first. What are your thoughts on this?
Exciting. Yeah, it's very exciting, isn't it? And it's good to hear more about the plans. And obviously, I know sort of back in January time, I think he was quoted in saying that they were going to dig down, weren't they, to help expand it, and you can see how they can possibly do that now. But yeah, it's going to be exciting. I think what everyone's going to be waiting to see is to see the designs and the plans and see how long it takes to be put into action. I think it sounds quite imminent, to be honest, and I think the players are due to move into the new training ground sort of around Easter time, I think it is, or is they moving over now? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it's slowly moving over now, isn't it?
Yeah, he did say in his interview, I think the academy are going to be over there as well, sort of just after as well. So that's all taking place, which obviously I'm assuming then opens up the back area behind the Ted McDougall to then give the club room to expand that stand. So it sounds like it's going to be an exciting build. Could be like a double tier kind of stand going in there, which will obviously really up the capacity. And it's great. I think it's exciting, really exciting, and it's great to hear as well that what they're doing from the hospitality side as well. I can see, and that's what the Americans are about. And they love the hospitality with the sport. They love to give that option, don't they? And yeah, it's great to hear that they're going to be up in the gear on that. And yeah, I'm really actually listening to that Talksport interview. I got really excited, to be honest. And it looks like it's going to be imminent as well, which is even more exciting.
Well, my thoughts on this. There's several thoughts that go through my head. Firstly, I'm absolutely delighted that we're saying at Dean Court. I'm delighted we're not going down the route of plastic bowl. What I mean by plastic bowl is like St Mary's, where the atmosphere is hard to get going. Other stadiums where, some of them are empty. Wigan is one, Derby County is probably another. Now, there is a couple of queries, and I don't get what some of the people on social media have said. And I think, there is. I just don't get this sense of entitlement of why, they feel that Bill Foley should build us a new stadium. Not in a million years. This is our home. This has been our home for so long. I think personally, this is a good move. The big question for me is if we are going to knock down the Ted Shed and make it a permanent stand, That's excellent news. We're going to buy it off Structure Dean. Finally, the stadium's going to be ours again.
Well,
But
the three sides anyway, because they don't own the Ted Mac, do they? But
well, no, exactly. But at the same time, though, Matt, this is going to put a real dent in the capacity. Now, there is no way in a million years that we could move out of Dean Court. There's nowhere else to go. Where would we go? Would we go to
I
Hewish Park
feel
or
like,
somewhere like that?
no, I think you're reading too much into it. I think from what he's saying is that you'll be when his last bit where he's saying you'll be surprised how quick we can get it through. They obviously want quick approval from the council, so it makes you wonder whether and these stands go up pretty quick. So it makes you wonder whether it's a case of between May and August they're building a new stand there.
Well, it would be great if they were, because I
Because
think
you can't, you're right. Because what you're saying is that if we lost the Ted Mac stand for a year, it lowers the capacity dramatically, doesn't it? And I don't think that's something they would want to do. I think they've and why they're doing it in stages. I think you can see why they're doing it in stages. They're going to do a segment each pre-season, maybe over the next couple of years. So the first part, Ted Mac, new one. Next stage the following year, the next stage the following year. So I think that's, I mean, obviously I'm only speculating, but I think I can't see them taking away a whole stand for a season to build a new stand. I think there's plans in there imminently to get this going.
Well, I watched an interview, and of course, Manchester United announced this week that they're looking to move away from Old Trafford, build this new stadium. And like everybody, I thought, well, firstly, Old Trafford is iconic. It's going to be a real loss to football. But secondly, it was, one thing that jumped out to me was how quickly they believed they could get this ground up and built by. When you think how big that stadium is going to be, 100,000 seats in there, it's going to be effectively like a Meccano set. So what they're talking about is getting it to come down the canal in parts and just piece it together. It's not going to be like, effectively like what Everton's has been, where it has been brick by brick, and it looks at absolutely outstanding stadium, that. But I think this is probably going to be the same sort of thing, where we are bringing it in big lumps that are already pre-built, piecing it together and putting it, and honestly, I think the best thing for me, some fans are going on and saying that we should be moving away and then we're stuck in the past and all that. No, 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 no. I think that this is our home, and like every football club that's got a home, you want to keep hold of your roots. Man United fans, I can understand why some of them are fed up with leaving Old Trafford. You can understand why some Everton fans are fed up with leaving Goodison Park. But, at the same time, I think that personally, redeveloping Dean Court is the best scenario. It's going to be a lot less. It's going to be a lot less costly. It's going to keep the decent atmosphere, and it's going to be hostile still. We don't need to build a bowl stadium. If we can do this and get it up to 24,000, it's better. It's traditional. It's going to be more exciting, and I'm absolutely delighted with it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and it's it's possibly, I'm sure they've explored every single angle. Who knows? It might be a case that the original plan of building behind the current ground isn't feasible, and I'm happy to stay where we are. Like I say, it's the club's spiritual home. They've played on that plot of land since 1910, and whichever angle would agree that the pitch has been at, but it's been on the same place, since 1910, and yeah, I'm just overly excited by it. I can't wait to see plans and further information that comes out. And like you say, it's just the icing on the cake is that we're staying where we are.
Yeah, most definitely. And with regards to, there was another piece as well that I've seen, and where they're saying that, with regards to, the North Stand, we couldn't really build that out. And there was something that I saw the other day which said we can do effectively what one of the ideas was that was muted. Again, it's not by anybody connected to the club, but it was somebody saying it, was that we can actually push it out. We can actually make it bigger, and we can have a walkway that goes underneath the North Stand with the turnstiles in there. Now, how that's going to work, I don't know. I'm not an architect. I don't have a clue. But I'm sure that Bill Foley is going to know the people that will know how that works and will be able to get that going and make that into a bigger stand still. So, hey, we shall see how it all pans out. But it's exciting, exciting times.
Yeah, it is. It is very exciting.
Well, of course, great stadium. Wouldn't be too great though if we didn't have a great manager. And this is our next piece. So Bill Foley has given an update on Andoni Iraola's future. So here we go. So Iraola's current contract expires at the end of next season, and asked if the club wanted to extend it, Foley said, Tiago Pinto, sporting director, is talking to his agent and has been talking to Andoni, and we are raising the topic. I hope that when I'm over in late April or Easter, that I will have a chance to sit down with him and just talk to him about what his goals are and his aspirations. I know that our aspirations will equal his. He wants to do well, wants to build winning teams, and we're here to support him. In terms of the UK, Bournemouth is about as good as it gets in terms of a location. It's a really great town. The people are wonderful. So all that is yet to be revealed. He's an excellent coach, a humble man, but he is serious and he really is a great coach of our team. And he leads the team. Um, so we're definitely engaged in all of these matters. The transfer window won't be until July, but we have a number of targets that we're interested in to support our own team. In fact, we've all had half a day meeting next week via Zoom to go through our team and see who we need to bring in, how we need to supplement what we already have. We're doing pretty well. Um, Not half, Bill, not half. We're not one of these teams that are under the gun for financial fair play. We're in pretty good shape and we don't have debt. We're kind of self funding ourselves, so I am optimistic. We just have work to do. As well as Iraola, several Bournemouth stars are on the radar of top clubs from the Premier League and around Europe. So, our views on this. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll go first, and I'll keep it very brief. Andoni Iraola, I know I made some mistakes when he first come in, and I said some stupid stuff. And I was the first one to actually turn around and say what a great appointment he was, before a ball had been kicked. But it's proved that he is a bloody great appointment. What he did at Vallecano has definitely been eclipsed by what he's done here. He's got us really fighting for European football, and there is no way I would want to see him go anywhere else. The question is can we keep him from going anywhere else?
Yeah, I think that's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think he's obviously very very well liked, isn't he, by many clubs, Europe and across Europe and probably the world, to be honest. And we are very lucky to have him. We're watching the best football, like we've said time and time again this season, watching the best football. I mean, best football I've ever seen Bournemouth play. so we're, very, very spoilt by having such a great manager. And obviously we want to keep him as fans. We want to keep him. Bill as an owner wants to keep him. So I can see, why they're working hard behind the scenes to, tie him down to this contract. And not just that as well, he is an asset of the club, isn't he? So,
Yeah.
he is going to go somewhere. It's like, when you sell a player on it, if he's done his best work at Bournemouth. He's done a good job everywhere he's been, but obviously his best work he's done at Bournemouth. So if someone wants his services, someone's going to have to pay for him. We don't want to lose him, for nothing. But the main thing is, I think, from most fans' perspective, is that they want to see him tied down to a decent contract. He doesn't like to really sign long-term contracts, does he? From if you look historically. But I think, if Bill and Pinto and Frano can, work their magic on him, and it'd be nice to see him, it'd be ideal to see him sign a 3-year deal, to be honest. I think that'd be a great contract for him to sign. I don't think you're going to see him tied down any longer than that. Or he may just want to keep signing short-term deals. Obviously, time will tell on this one, but I think, he's built, a great team here. The players that were here that he's taken on have obviously warmed to him, and he's got the best out of them. I mean, you look at, your Christies, your Cooks, they're players that he inherited, and, he's got the best out of them, playing their best football, and the additions that, the club's made, he's managed to blend into his style and blend in with the rest of the players. So he's a massive, massive asset. Like I say, he's for me, I think it's vitally important that we tie him down to a contract and we can keep him for as long as possible.
Yeah, 100%. And I think personally, when we're doing it is the right time to do it. And the main reason why I'm saying this is because if we let the summer turn up and then we do end up selling players, Andoni Iraola might be more, he might think, well, there might be less point of me staying. I think, September, October might be when ideally he would be wanting to wait for, but we want to get it over the line as quickly as possible. I wouldn't be surprised that if we saw an extension of 1 year on top of next season. So that would take him, of course, into, I'm just trying to do the maths, 2027. Longer would be better.
But a year is realistic, I agree.
Yeah, I think a year is realistic. The other side of the coin, though, as well, is that we might want to extend it. Well, we need to extend it regardless. Iraola holds the cards here, not Bill Foley. We would love to extend him for another 3 years on top of the year because, that's what I think he's done such a good job here and he'll continue to do such a good job. But if we extend it by a year, at least that means anybody who comes in, like be it Arsenal, there's talk about Arteta potentially going now. Forget Spurs, just ignore Spurs because at the end of the day, he's not going to go there. He's not going to go there. Working on Daniel Levy is an absolute hiding to nothing. But say, for example, Arsenal is the only team in the UK that I think he would go to. And the only other team really, realistically, and honestly, that I could see Iraola at is Real Madrid. And hey, I don't think we could actually stop him from going to Real Madrid. Well, maybe if Athletic Bilbao come up, maybe you might think, well, this is a chance to actually manage my hometown team. Yeah, let's do it now. But there is, the way I see it is we've got to extend it. He holds the cards because we want to make sure that if the worst does happen, that we get a sizable fee, and a team like Real Madrid aren't bending us over and really taking him for next to nothing.
Yeah. I mean, Real Madrid is, a club like Real Madrid is, you don't say no to Madrid. So, I think if they were to come around, I think that would be the case. I mean, from looking at it from other clubs that are interested, like your Spurs and Arsenal and whatever other clubs are being mentioned, it's also what Bill and the management here sell to him.
Yeah.
If Bill can guarantee that, unless a player wants to go, they won't sell him, which is the position the club's in. There's no, they don't have to sell anyone. He's even said, the club's, debt free and, is not near any of the financial stuff. The what's it called? Always forget it.
Oh, PSR, profit and sustainability rules.
So we're not near any of that. So it's not like we've got to sell players to balance books or anything. So the only way the players are going to leave this football club is if they want to go. And like Bill has said, they've never stood in the way of a player wanting to move on, and things like that. So from that perspective, he can say to Iraola, look, we don't need to sell. We keep, unless there's players that we need to move on, that you want to move on to make room to bring other players in, then fair enough. But other than that, we don't need to sell. So that's quite a good thing for a manager. It's like you say, you don't want to see your squad get picked apart and then turn down a job, and then you see or you sign a new contract and then you got to do a bit of a rebuild. So you're probably right. Sort of from his time, it'd be the right time, sort of August, September time, to say, look, let's talk about it. But I'm quite confident that the likes of Bill and Co can get a deal done. Like you say, I mean, I would love to see it. Like a 2-year, 3-year deal. Well, every fan see that, but realistically, with the historical contracts that I think if you look back that he's signed, he's only ever really signed 1 to 2 year sort of deals, isn't he? So like you said, probably a year extension is probably more likely if he's going to put pen to paper sooner rather than later, or who knows, but it's something that the club has definitely got to get done. We need to keep our best manager as much as our best players. So, and without Iraola, we wouldn't be watching this fantastic football and be talking about European football for so long, and the chances of us being there, and so it is vitally important. I think also where Bill's vision is as well, I think matches Andoni's. I think Andoni is obviously, he's a winner. He wants to produce good football, wants to produce winning teams, and that's what Bill wants. Bill's got that vision for the club where he wants to take the club somewhere, and he needs an equally as ambitious manager as he's already got. So fingers crossed that we get some good news with this.
Yeah, definitely. If you're watching Andoni, please stay. Absolute legend. Absolutely legend. I tell you what, let's give a mention though to other companies that are legends. Firstly, Touchpoint Telecoms. For all your business telecoms needs, contact Mark and the team at touchpointtelecoms.co.uk. And of course, who can forget Dental on the Banks? If you want your teeth sorted, get in contact with them. Here's a little bit about them now. You know where to go to get your teeth sorted. It's dentalonthebanks.co.uk. There we are. Do you know what? I sounded a little bit like Jim Bowen there. That's the bullseye.
Jim Bowen, eh? Oh, that's a flash from the past. That
It is, isn't it? It is. Oh, no, although saying that, it wasn't Jim that used to say that, was it? It was Tony Green, wasn't it?
Green, yeah, that's it.
Tony
Yeah.
Green.
I
There
remember
we go.
Yeah, Sunday tea times.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. But I tell you what, let's talk about another player that has hit the bullseye this season. And let's go into this in a bit more detail. So stats predict Kerkez to be Europe's best. So I will read this out. This is all from Opta Analyst. So with Milos Kerkez now in the Premier League's top 3 defenders for assists this season, Matt Finnis of Opta Analyst looks at how much the Hungarian has impressed under Andoni Iraola. Milos Kerkez is one of the hottest properties in Europe right now. Still only 21 years old, the left back is only in his 3rd season of top flight football after joining AFC Bournemouth from Eredivisie side AZ Alkmaar in the summer of 2023. But despite his young age and relative inexperience, some of Europe's biggest clubs have reportedly seen enough to put Kerkez on their radar. Although Kerkez is still in his formative years, Andoni Iraola has put his faith in the Hungarian, making him one of the cornerstones of his impressive Bournemouth side. Since the start of last season, only 3 players have played more minutes of league action, whilst aged 22 years old across the top 5 European leagues in Kerkez. With none of the trio above him getting more time on the pitch exclusively in the Premier League. Kerkez is the only player to have appeared in all 28 of Bournemouth's Premier League matches in what has been a season made more complicated for the Cherries by numerous injury layoffs. That's just as well considering the impact that he's had in a season that's seen them perform better than ever before in the top flight. Bournemouth's tally of 44 points is 9 more than they've ever collected after 28 games of a top flight campaign, beating last season's previous high of 35. They are now only 4 points off equaling their season best total of 48, also set last season with 10 matches remaining. Much of their success has come from Iraola's philosophy of high-intensity pressing and hard work off the ball. Kerkez plays a vital role in this from the left side of defence. The young fullback features in the top 10 Premier League players this season for both total distance covered, 278.5 kilometres, and total sprints, 616, and that's 5th, while only 5 players have covered more distance while sprinting than he has. His energy levels have seen him make more overlapping runs than any other player in the Premier League this season, 237, while with Fulham's Anthony Robinson of 223, the only other player to record more than 175 in the competition across 2024 and 2025 after 28 match days. So this is Milos Kerkez's overlapping runs. And as you can see, it looks like a map of aeroplanes coming out of Heathrow.
It does, doesn't it, really? But you can see where his 616 sprints have come from.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his distance that he's covered. But yeah, I mean, look at if what I love from looking at this is just look how many times he's getting into the box.
Yeah.
And you know, he's so far. I think in a minute we kind of see a percentage in a minute of how much he's in the opposition's half.
Yeah.
But from this, you can just see where his, you know, he is being a massive threat from Bournemouth down that left. And I mean, that cross against Tottenham this week, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen such a precise cross from the angle you put it in at. Absolute fantastic cross. But yeah, this overlapping off the ball's runs map is quite impressive. It'd be interesting to see, compare this one to other fullbacks and to see what they've done this season. But this is all off the ball movement by him to receive a pass or to create space. So yeah, very, very interesting reading this one.
It's incredible, really. To be honest, if that was the flight map over Heathrow, I'd be a little bit worried. That's probably in a given day, to be fair. But yeah, look at the amount of moves he makes into that box. Look at what he did to get on, Sunday against Spurs and the run that he made, and it's just brilliant. It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's very, very, very impressive. But I tell you what, let me continue. So, Robinson, who leads the Premier League ranking for open play crosses this season, 135. But Kerkez isn't far behind, ranking 5th, 83. The pick of those came in Sunday's 2-2 draw at Tottenham Hotspur, where he intercepted Petro Porro's pass inside his own half and then carried the ball 43.6 metres before curling a wicked cross to the back post, bypassing 4 opponents for Marcus Tavernier to open the scoring. And that is exactly what I meant on, from Sunday's game. There we are. There is a good tackle there against Brighton, but that is exactly the goal that I was on about. No team have scored more goals from open play crosses than Bournemouth, 8 in the Premier League this season, and Kerkez has assisted 3 of those. Those numbers are no fluke either. Only Fulham 8.7 have a higher XG assisted total from open play crosses this season than the Cherries 8.0, whilst Kerkez 1.53 leads his club's ranking. These numbers don't even include the Hungarians' fantastic assist against reigning champions Manchester City in November, which was a cutback rather than a cross, where Kerkez beat Phil Foden for pace before getting to the byline and squaring for Antoine Semenyo's 9th minute opener in the 2-1 win. Hopefully he can do that in a couple of weeks' time again. Kerkez's improved chance creation numbers this season have come about thanks to Iraola encouraging them to play higher up the pitch. And here is some more stats. Of course, this is kind of showing the open play touches, and the percentage. Is it percentages? The +3 and
It's the difference in touches per 90.
Yes.
His differences in touches. So as you can see, he's way in the pluses in the attacking parts of the pitch, which obviously when you see this from the previous diagram, you're not surprised really that he's in the pluses in most of the attacking areas. But yeah, it's an interesting one to look at. But yeah, that is across 90 minutes. So yeah.
Do you know one thing that jumps out to me as well in that statistic is if you look at where the solid areas are, the most touches, they're not actually in the defensive areas. It's actually more in the midfield role, which shows the high press, perfectly. It shows that we're not. Look at that. The second block from the top. You'd expect those 2 blocks to be, in particular, quite heavy for most players.
Where a defensive player would expect to be making most of their touches. You're right. It does identify the high press very, very well, and it's if you looked at that, you'd probably think, am I looking at a winger?
Well, exactly.
And
I've got to be honest with this Opta Analyst stuff. some of it. I'm not a football coach. If I was to go into football management, I would be old school. I would be very, very old school. Think of a John Sitton type character. Probably that sort of character. Yeah. Can you imagine me going into a changing room? You're big, and you're little. But yeah,
Old,
to be honest,
old school management.
old school management. This is new school management. This is what Andoni Iraola's good at. And I tell you what, these statistics, yeah, all the young boffins get this. Not old gits like me. But yeah, it's very, very impressive. I shall continue though. Before I make an absolute fool of myself. Overall, Kerkez has averaged 6.1 touches per match, more than in the left third of the attacking half this season than last, with the majority of those in the zones closest to the touchline. There we go. This has seen Bournemouth's left back average a higher touch position, 57.8 metres from his own goal line than those at every club, with the exception of Man City, who touch 58.6 meters. There you go. So, interestingly, this attacking freedom isn't afforded to Bournemouth's right-sided defenders this season, with those players touching the ball on average 52.9 metres from their own goal line, 4.9 metres deeper than Kerkez. Only Ipswich Town, 5.5 metres on the left than the right, have a more lopsided balance from their fullbacks in the Premier League across 24-25. Now, this is quite good, actually. This is very, very, very interesting. I'm just looking at the statistics, and of course, you can see us. We're top, fifth from the left, third from the right. As you can see there, it is lopsided. Wolves look very, very close together. Saints look very close together. I guess, the league average is very, very, very close. Oh, wow, look at Brighton. 53.9, 54. But then again, we haven't really got, we have got a right back, but he's injured in Adam Smith. But also, Adam Smith is, a quality defender, but he's aging. And like I've always said, he needs that little bit of time off the ball. Can he really play that high press as much as other players can? No.
No. But I think even with Smithy, playing, in the side and Iraola, and be interesting to see what the right back stat would be with them two playing the full season as fully fledged right backs. I know Cookie's filling in there at the minute, and he's done a fabulous job. But it would be interesting to see, how different that would be. Would it be so lopsided like that? Would it be a little bit more level? Because what's the
exactly.
57.8 to 52, is it? 52.9?
Yeah, 57.8 to 52.9. But if you look at Ipswich, who have the other disparity, their left back, 52.8 to 47.3. Yeah, of course, Ipswich newly promoted. They are going to struggle. But, it shows, where we're getting these touches. And yeah, honestly, I think this is a brilliant statistic. It shows why Kerkez is such an important player, why he's done so well in the English game, and long may it continue. Hopefully for AFC Bournemouth rather than any other team. Most notably, keep your hands off Onslaught and piss off. Moving swiftly on, looking at all the Premier League defenders, only 4 have played at least 1,000 minutes in 24-25. Rico Lewis, Josko Guardiola, Jurriën Timber and Trent Alexander-Arnold have averaged a higher proportion of their successful passes in the opposition half than Kerkez, 58.8%. He is integral to Bournemouth's build-up play too. Of all the players who have played at least 500 minutes in the league for the club this season, only Dean Howson, 41.6, has averaged more unique open play sequence involvements per 90 minutes this season than Kerkez, 39.9. And looking at all Premier League defenders, only four to have played at least 1,000 minutes in 24-25. Rico Lewis, Josko Guardiola, Jerry Timber, and Trent Alexander-Arnold have averaged a higher proportion of the successful passes in the opposition half than Kerkez. So, of course, this is just covering off before. Sorry, I've repeated myself there a little bit, but this just shows the Bournemouth passing network as well, as you can see against Spurs in that 2-2 draw on Sunday. And do you know what? I think it's a real strength of ours that we can get that ball down, just keep passing it, make sure we keep control. So it's a great statistic. I don't want to go over, what happened and what went wrong against Spurs. I think I've been honest enough to say I think it was a good performance. Actually, I think it just fell down to two moments of madness from Kepa where he positioned himself wrong, and Sarr. I don't know if that was a shot or a cross, but put it into the box. And the second one, I don't think he needed to.
It's a cross.
It looked like a cross, didn't it? That Sarr that just went straight into the top corner.
That's a cross. I think. Yeah. I don't know if he's come out and said.
Yeah, I think that's what Kepa probably thought it was, but he was just too far out of his goal, and there's always that danger of that happening.
Coming to a bit of a he's coming to a bit of criticism there, isn't he? I think difficult one. Yeah, okay, you could possibly question his positioning if we're just going to quickly touch on the goals.
Yeah,
his positioning possibly, but like I say, I think if I was a goalkeeper, I wouldn't be expecting him to shoot from there. But then again, you can possibly question his positioning. As for the penalty, unfortunately, it's the risk goalkeepers take now. As soon as you go to ground, if you take the player, it's a penalty, isn't it? And
yeah,
that's the unfortunate joys of being a goalkeeper, isn't it? It's yeah, I would say I would say it was a penalty, unfortunately, but it is what it is. But I mean, when you look at something like this passing network, I was quite impressed with seeing this because it's great to see all the lines actually, like how our passing network and kind of how our build-up play works. I thought this was quite fascinating. It was quite good. Obviously, the more red the line is where the more touches and the number of touches are happening. So yeah, I thought this one was quite an interesting one.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I tell you what, let's move on to the next part. Despite being so advanced positionally for Bournemouth, Kerkez isn't pushed high up the pitch to cover for any defensive inadequacies. That's often a criticism levelled at some of the Premier League's best fullbacks, none more so than Liverpool's Trent Alexander-Arnold. While not a prolific tackler, he averages just 1.4 per 90 minutes, half of the rate of Alexander-Arnold and less than half the average of the other highly rated fullbacks like Daniel Munoz and Destiny Udogie. Kerkez's positional sense is often enough to dispossess the opponent. I've said this quite a few times actually, but he's a very good tackler as well, but he reads the game very well. Looking at true tackles made up of tackles, challenges, last and fouls when attempting the tackle, Kerkez has a 61.3% success rate, losing only 13 challenges and committing just 11 fouls from them.
I was just going to say, when he does put a tackle in, though, Kerkez, he can put a tackle in.
Oh gosh, yeah, he does, and but then again, it is a very very good point. it's just his positioning. Sometimes it's enough that he's read the game, he's read where the player's going to go, and he stops them.
Doesn't make a tackle. Yeah.
Well, despite playing nearly 300 minutes more than Alexander Arnold this season, opponents seemingly know that Kerkez isn't an easy defender to beat, instead finding other routes to progress the ball up the field. However, fantastic Alexander Arnold is going forwards, there has always been question marks about his defensive ability. He has attempted 122 true tackles in the Premier League this season, winning 54.9% of them, losing a league high 53 challenges and being dribbled past 43.4% of the time, also a league high. Fulham's excellent left back Robinson has also lost more than one take-ons than he's won. 35 won, 36 lost in the Premier League this season. Now, Arnslot, if you are watching this, Robinson is an absolutely fantastic defender. Kerkez, just don't go after it. He's not very good. Go for Robinson and sign him from Fulham. Cheers, Arm. Anyway, moving on. Playing such a key role in Bournemouth's success this season, there's no surprise that Kerkez has been identified by many as a player who could go on to be one of the best fullbacks in Europe in years to come. With 10 matches left to play in the Premier League this season, Iraola's side have a great chance of qualifying for European competition for the first time in their history. It remains to be seen if Kerkez will be joining them on that journey, however.
I found, reading through that very, very, interesting, and you can see why the stats are showing that he's going to potentially become, one of the best fullbacks in Europe. And you look at his age; he's still at a very tender age, isn't he? He's still a lot of football ahead of him. So, if he's this good now, what's he going to be like in 4 or 5 years' time? When he's at his prime.
Exactly.
The word excellent.
Exactly. But he's not going anywhere because Arnslot is going to sign Robinson instead. Kerkez is going to, stay at Bournemouth. He said so on his YouTube channel. Job done. Sorry, Arn.
Yeah. if only what you're saying there is true. But hey ho,
exactly.
That's for another day.
For anybody listening on Spotify and wondered what I said to Arnslot, I kind of flicked the bird at him.
Anyway, moving
on. Let's talk about TST, and we've had a little bit of fun actually this week, and we have picked our Legends 7x7 team. So in the comments, I tell you what I want you to do on Facebook, Twitter, wherever. I want you guys to pick who would win out of mine or Matt's team, and then I want you to create your own who you think would beat both of us. There we go. There's a challenge there. So who would win out of me and Matt's team? But I tell you what, shall I go first with the Beasley Babes, as I'm going to call them? The Beasley Babes. You've called it Craig's Super 7 Cherries, but I've renamed it the Beasley Babes. Don't know why. But here we go. In goal, between the sticks, there is no other than the big pole in the goal. Artur Boruc, of course, a man that he was inspirational in our early years in the Premier League. Nothing was getting past him. Nothing's going to get past him on a 7x7 pitch because he's just too bloody big. But there we are. Artur Boruc is in goal. If he doesn't save the ball, though, Stevie will. So Steve Cook will save the ball and he'll make sure it won't be going in the back of the net. Yes, he might get sent off for it, but there we are. But what a defender he is. He can handle anything that's thrown at him. An absolute legend, of course. He knew he was going out the door at Bournemouth, but he decided to put his face in the way. I think that's how you can probably explain it against Fulham in that season when we was promoted from the Championship. He's a warrior. He's a legend. Anybody who knows me knew that there was only going to be one man that I was going to pick in that defence. Of course, to move the ball up very, very quickly, we've got the man who signed from Hereford United, Mr. Mark Pugh, an absolute legend. He'll make sure the team are fed properly before they take to the pitch. And of course, Matty Holland as well.
Sorry.
An absolute legend at the football club. Of course, was inspirational during the Winter Gardens years as well. Went on to have a very, very good career and even play European football himself with Ipswich Town. Of course, up front, if we wanted a goal in 150 minutes, and they are shorter games as well, James will get you 3. So, James Hayter is a no-brainer from me. What a legend this man was for the football club. So, Hates is going to be up front. It's going to be a top-heavy team. Well, do you know what? I think I would be, hung, drawn, and quartered if I didn't put this man up front. Probably by him himself. But the main man, the Fletch, the big un, what else what's the word? What else can I praise him with? But yeah, he would definitely get a goal, maybe a last minute goal to send my team to victory against Matt's. It's an absolute no-brainer him being in there. And finally, to be honest, we wouldn't need the 3 goals in the first couple of minutes, and we wouldn't need, Fletch to go and bang in a late winner, because this man would put us 7-0 up to start off with. Of course, it is the main man, Brett Pitman. He never played in the Premier League. He should have played in the Premier League. The man's a bloody legend. He's played in every division in the EFL. He's scored more goals than I've had hot dinners. And of course, Matt's team would be going home crying as Brett, well, to be honest, at half time, because Brett would have already put us out of sight. There you are, Matt. Over to you.
That's your lineup.
It is very, very. It's a 1-2-3 formation, which I don't think's ever been done. In all honesty, it's kind of one of those Football Manager lineups, but I like it. I like it. It is definitely in the trend of Eddie Howe, and I think Eddie Howe would probably have to be the manager of this side. It's just going to be like, yeah, we'll just go score one more than you. Yeah, it's going to be at 8-7 in the end, but hey, couldn't care less. Steve's going to be busy at the back, or is he? Or is he? What you tell me, Matt? Is Steve Cook going to be busy at the back? Is the pole in the goal just going to be sat there? Could he just go and get himself a coffee? And I don't know if he drinks coffee, to be honest. Probably a beer. Would he go and get? Yeah, he does drink. Yeah, one of his own beers.
I think vodka in it.
Oh yeah, vodka. Yeah, he
Yeah.
could have a vodka. Just stood there. Because we'd just be banging them in. Go on, Matt. Do your worst.
Well, my magnificent 7 then. Right, well, basically when I put pen to paper earlier on this week when I was thinking about it, and then I asked you, I was like, oh, that's half of what I've got. So I've gone back into my Bournemouth history, and I've picked some other legends that I think would balance out that team. I have included one player the same as yours, but I had to take the other 4 out. But anyway, obviously there's just been 2 of the same teams.
Yeah.
So in goal for me, Neil Moss, obviously pivotal for us in the early 2000s, 2003 playoff final. Always a safe pair of hands, Mossy, and he's now obviously guiding the current proper keepers. So I think for me, he's my legendary goalkeeper. I was toying with the idea of Jimmy Glass, but I think that was more for his footwork than his actual goalkeeping. So I thought, no, better have a safe pair of hands. But yeah, anyone that knows me knows that this man was my first absolute hero. I've spoken about other players as well, but Coxey was the first player for me, really, that that I just absolutely loved watching. Class centre back. So I thought I'd put someone in there that can use the ball with his feet as well. And then I thought, well, do I want to have two at the back, or do I just want kind of, someone else that can play in midfield that's defensively solid? And so to complement Coxey, I've gone with Carl Fletcher, who on his day, cracking midfielder, but also a very good centre back. So I've gone with Carl Fletcher. Then I thought, well, Coxey can score a goal, Carl can score a goal, but I thought, we need to get some goals in this team. So, and I thought, well, I would have picked James Hayter, but someone beat me to it. And I would have picked Brett Pittman, but somebody beat me to it. And I thought, well, I've got to think of some goal-scoring midfielders here. So, I've gone with Darren Anderton.
Oh,
now,
good pick.
Can score a screamer, can Darren? Good player. So, yeah, I've gone with Darren Anderton. Great from set pieces and things like that. So, I think in my 7-a-side, he'd be, very pivotal. And I thought, let's delve back. Obviously, we've done legends, so we can't really pick any of the currents crop because that would have been an easy side to pick. But I've gone back again and I thought, yeah, I need someone else that can score goals for midfield. And I thought, well, there's one man for it for me from going back to when I was a young lad in the old newsstand at the old Dean Court. And that man is Stevie Robinson. Another man that can score some goals from midfield. Right, so when you look at that, I thought, right, I'm not going to be as brave as you and go 3 up front, but I thought, I'm going to go with 2 up front, but I'm going to go with a bit of an iconic duo. I had to put this man in because I need someone big and strong at the top.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the pressure off my man who is going to be absolutely prolific. And it's all right to say that, you've got Brett Pittman and you've got James Hayter, but this man's going to take
Jermaine.
So with the big man, little man up the top, I've gone with that kind of formation there, which is bizarre. So Mossy, Cox, Cole Fletcher there can drop into the midfield, drop in the defence, help the midfield out, help Coxey out. You've got your Anderton there for your set pieces. You've got your Robbo there who can score your goals. You've got your big man up top. And then you've got your little man who's going to do all the finishing.
Well, leave in the comment section below who you think will win. But I tell you what, Matt, just before we close off this bit, seeing as we both picked Steve Fletcher is going to do traditionally for us what, you used to do at the park years ago. When one player was just too bloody good, he'd play half for one side and then half for the other side when they were losing.
I did actually think about putting Jan Kermogrant in there.
Oh, is that who you would play for the second half or the first half when I've got Fletch? So here we are. You're on the spot now.
And do you know another one I thought of?
Go on.
Stevie Jones. Loved Stevie Jones.
Stevie Jones.
Stevie Jones. Loved watching him. Great player, great finisher. Could have stuck Callum Wilson in there.
Yeah.
Could have stuck him there. Could have stuck Derek Holmes in there. No. He weren't bad, Derek. He weren't bad.
Yeah.
He filled in for Fletch, didn't he, quite a bit. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. I'm a fan of the big man, little man, but I think that's because I watched Steve Fletcher for so many years, and I think his first strike partner at the club would have been Steve Cottrell, I think, if I remember rightly. But then throughout the years, him and Steno, him and Defoe, him and Hates, it's always been big man, little man, Pittman. It's always been taller than everybody else, isn't he? So it's always been big man, little man. So, but no, I think it's a difficult one. I didn't really want to, pick Fletch because you picked Fletch, but then I wanted to pick Hates and I wanted to pick Pittman as well. There's so many. When you do this kind of thing, I could probably have done about 20 different teams with players in. I even thought about including like Klaus Jorgensen. Oh, I loved watching Klaus Jorgensen. Great.
Yeah.
Used to love watching him. Pewey was one of the ones I already had written down because loved Pewey.
Yeah. You can't have Pewey. I'm sorry.
There's so
I'm sorry.
many. Yeah, there's so many names I could write down. I could have done probably about 20.
Yeah.
And when you look at the defenders, I could have put Youngie in there, could have put Eddie Howe in there. Like yourself, you put Cook in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Ake was one I was thinking of as well.
Yeah.
I was putting Ake in there. I thought, so yeah, I could have done so many different, and I think a lot of fans could do so many different teams. But it is a good bit of fun, wasn't it? And obviously, with the, it'd be interesting to see which legends are going to be announced to play in the tournament. And it would be funny if it was a.
Maybe if I wanted to pack the midfield a little bit more, just behind my attackers, I could get Russell Beardsmore in there.
Oh yeah, Beardo could play midfield. He played left back for quite a bit as well.
Well, exactly.
Versatile was Beardo. Yeah. There's a lot of great players, but it's just a bit of fun, isn't it? But yeah, like you said, if people can comment on it and whose team would beat whose team, and to be fair, I'd be more interested in hearing what other people would pick.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that would be great because, so if you want to pick your side, pop it on the comments or stick it on the Facebook page. I might put something on the Facebook page, actually. So look out on the page and, it'd be good to have some more interaction. But I think that actually brings us on nicely onto the next segment, doesn't it?
Well, I think it does, Matt. I think it does. Let's bring it up. I sounded like Jeffrey from bloody Rainbow there. I think it does, Bungle. I don't think it does. Or was it Zippy? No, Zippy was like, hello. And he was like, Bungle. Bungle, we got our twangers out. Anyway, introduce it to us, Matt.
Right, so obviously on the Facebook page, this earlier on this week, we asked everybody basically who you thought was the best midfielder to ever put on a Cherry shirt. And we had quite a few comments. I haven't managed to include everybody that has commented on it. But I shall run through some of the names that have commented on it. So thanks to everybody, including Nigel Jackson, Dean Lumber, David Jones, Alan Smith, Peter Ive, Barney Greenway, Paul Orchard, Nick Pounds, Keith, Patrick Bailey, Derek Martin, Ian Jones, Danny Stewart, Vicky Hartley, Andy Watson, Robert King, Jim Watson, Michael Martin, Robert Hall, Bernie Martin, Rob Hopper, Stephen Allen, Stephen Frampton, Pat Mountain, Randall Pencroff, Dan Lashmere, Dean Dewar, Deborah Daniels, Paul Strand, Neil McKenney, Stevie Gates, and Martin Brent Hall. You guys all voted for these players that we're about to go through now. So these are your votes for best midfielder you've seen in a Cherry shirt. First one up, and the most popular choice from the comments, I would say, is Ian Bishop. Now, one comment actually did state that he only played one season for Bournemouth, but he was an unbelievable player. Is one comment. Majestic is another word that's been used. Ian Bishop, he could pass as good as Hoddle. Now that does say, quite a lot for a player because obviously Glenn Hoddle was a master.
Some compliment in that, really.
And for that one season that Ian Bishop did play for us, he did make a massive impact. Now he's also a player like my dad was privileged to see him and play for us, and he's always said Ian Bishop was a quality player. So that was probably the most popular choice. But there's quite a lot of the modern boys as well that have been a popular choice. So Harry Arter, he's been mentioned, obviously a legend of our promotion side. I mean, that's him there celebrating that worldie he scored against Watford, which was an amazing day. I remember
What a shirt that is, isn't it?
yeah, that's a classic shirt. That one definitely. And the only shirt I haven't brought in the last 15 years is that shirt there, because at the time I didn't like it, and now I like it. So I'm gutted I didn't buy it. But yeah, Arta was mentioned a couple of times, which is nice. Steve Robinson, he was mentioned as well a couple of times on the post, but I'm not surprised his name cropped up. And the modern boys, the current crop, Ryan Christie has been a very popular choice. Him and Cookie are probably the two players that were mentioned the most behind Bishop, to be fair. So that just shows the impact that these two lads have had this season. A massive impact on all of us, and both excelling this season. Another lad from this season, David Brooks. He's been mentioned. Brooksy, obviously, fantastic player. I'm a fan of Brooks. I think he's excellent. It's great to see him back in the side. Obviously, last season going on loan for game time at the Saints. But it's great to see him that he's part of Iraola's plans, and long may that continue for Brooksy, because I think he can give you something different, which is always great. One from a little bit of yesteryear, Brian Stock.
Yes,
Brian Stock was mentioned. I used to like Stocky. Good player. You knew what you got with Stocky. And not only that, he had a decent career, had a very good spell at Burnley. So, yeah, not surprised he was mentioned. Danny Hollins got a mention. Yeah, I was always a fan of Danny. Always thought he gave 110%, and had a fairly decent career in the game. So, yeah, but I wasn't the first name I would expect to have seen mentioned. But, yeah, he was in there. Darren Anderton, obviously, currently part of our Hall of Fame. He was voted in a couple of seasons ago, but yeah, again, I've put him in my 7 aside, my magnificent 7. But yeah, class player. At the time, I remember, watching his debut against Scunthorpe, I think it was, if I remember rightly, and he scored a 25-yard free kick. But it was just great to see someone with a ball at their feet. He was just unbelievable. But what he could do with that ball at his feet. Even though his legs probably weren't as they were, sort of 10 years before, but he could spray a ball and pick out a pass and read the game so well. It was a pleasure to watch at the time. Carl Fletcher. Wow, what can you say about Carl? I mean, for Bournemouth, absolutely played out of his skin, sorry, I should say. Great leader, scored those 2 crucial goals at the Millennium Stadium that year. But again, a player that you could always tell at some point was destined to play at a higher level, and obviously played in an FA Cup final and had a fairly decent career.
Yeah.
This man, Jimmy Case, absolute legend of the game. Obviously a Liverpool legend. All my fans were lucky to see him in a Bournemouth shirt for a season under Redknapp. So he's been mentioned, a bit like Bish. I think, if I remember right, he only played 1 season for the club, but left a good impact on everybody. And finally, Wade Elliott was also mentioned.
Yeah.
That is who basically this week going to be going on to the vote for the Hall of Fame, apart from Darren Anderton, who's obviously already in there, which you guys can vote for, obviously, over the next week or so on our Facebook page. But just to update everybody, keep everybody updated, let's have a little look at the current Hall of Fame.
Let's do it, Matt. There we are. There we are. That is the current Hall of Fame. Anybody who is listening on Spotify, you haven't tuned into a naughty show. It is still cherry picking. The tune does sound like, and do keep your eyes peeled for a Cherry Abroad, the Amsterdam special. Don't worry, I don't go down by the riverfront. So, yeah. But I do go to the Johan Cruyff Arena. So I go to Justin's house, so to speak. There you are. That is the name of it. If anybody knows what Justin's house is, you've obviously got kids of a certain age. You know, it used to be a CBBC show with Justin Fletcher. No, it's one of the most annoying shows that you'll ever see. You'll want to put something through the television. But yeah. But yeah, there we are. Moving swiftly on. Let's close off this show with the Guess the Cherry reveal. So here I go. So he was born in Ringwood in 1936. He played on the right side of midfield. He joined from Weymouth in 1958. He played 436 times for the Cherries. He's the fourth leading appearance in the is fourth in the leading appearance charts and scored 55 times in a Cherries shirt. And as you can tell, Jonathan Ross, Chris Tarrant, and the rest of them haven't got anything to worry about because I can't even say my words properly. Matt, take it away. Who is it?
It's Ray Bumstead.
There we go. Give yourself a gold star if you have got him. There we are. That is our Guess the Cherry for this week. Matt, it's been a lot of fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a pleasure as always. And yeah, look forward to doing it again next week. And hopefully we get 3 points against Brentford on the Saturday tea time kickoff.
Yep.
You just got to love Sky TV and putting all these games, you know. I don't even know if we've got another 3 o'clock kickoff this season. I can't even remember, to be honest.
I don't think we have we, for ages?
Oh no, because Leicester's on a Sunday, isn't it? At 3 o'clock.
Fulham? No, Fulham was moved.
Yeah, there's so much movement going around.
It's just. Yeah. Don't think of the fans, Sky. Just think of your own pockets. There you go. But yeah, this weekend, of course, we come up against Ed Tudor-Pole. Oh, sorry, I do apologise. Ed Tudor-Pole is still currently in the Crystal Maze. We do come up against Thomas Frank, though, and we will have some preview footage about that as well coming up. Do hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell button, do all that jazz. tell us what you think. If you like it, you dislike it. If you want to tell us what you had for dinner, you can do in the comments below. But until the next one, from me and Matt, up the Cherries, 3 points against Thomas Frank. He's bloody nightmare, isn't he? Let's hope we beat him this weekend. See you in the next one, guys.
Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.